Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
Episode 2, our first guests. Beel Bobbie, super appropriate.
The best, yes.
I haven't factored this in, whether we should do like how we know each other's in these, how I met your
Friends.
all these folks for the future.
As of right now, we're just me friends. Tell your kids that when they're old.
When our kids watch this, we're going to be like, well, we weren't even best friends yet.
Best friends then.
We hardly knew them.
So you, Mom and Dad, you didn't live with Beel and Bobbie yet when you recorded this?
Yeah.
Like, no, we got like this close though. We were looking for a house.
Compound is under construction. We met Steve at DeSales. So Matt was obviously DeSales alumni. He was, in the group at that point. So early on, like freshman year, when we started hanging out with Matt, Steve would come up and then kind of hung out, multiple weekends throughout the entire, 4 years. So we knew Steve, and then after college, we saw Steve, kind of infrequently, I guess. And then it was at, I guess it was Matt's wedding.
Matt's wedding.
Yeah. So Matt's wedding, Steve brought Eva. We met Eva, hung out, and then we started hanging out a little bit more. And then when we moved to the area, so we moved to Willow Grove. And then Steve and Eva were in Glenside in their apartment, and then they wound up moving like
around the corner.
Yeah, like
walking distance, the good old days.
And then it spawned a love affair that the world has never seen since,
The truest of love. So, son, Matt is somebody who used to pitch me ideas and think about space a lot. He's the one who had that thing that we talked about, but we don't talk about anymore. That was just for that.
Yeah.
I think it's funny how that stuff goes, how it's like making friends as adults is a really weird, like I had known you for probably a decade before we kind of became neighbors. And then it was a like walk to each other's house every day, and you had kids, and we just like that one, and then all these like milestones of, we weren't really friends yet, of like, we went on vacation together and had like, we like shared a room at that one place. And, like
we shared one bed and like a pull-out couch. And then we like alternated who got the bed and who got the couch because they messed up our reservation. We were supposed to get 2 beds, but we only got 1 bed.
That's how time flies. That was probably 2016.
That was like, 2016.
Yeah, because we had just gotten engaged.
2020, we can't even be in the same neighborhood.
I know. We
Quarantine. Time flies.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's interesting that like, we made friends with Matt, and through Matt made friends that became, like as close as we are.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
I don't remember like any interaction that I had with you guys at Matt's wedding, but I always remembered thinking I really liked them and I want to hang out with them. But like, I can't tell you like what we talked about.
Yeah,
I just remember thinking that.
I get it.
Yeah, couple goals. They were always they were Beel and Bobbie, legendary.
Steve always had my instincts are wrong, but that was
we were
definitely
and,
for sure.
A little bit.
You guys do perform best at weddings, making friends. So
Eva was the belle of the ball because right when Matt, Mike, Pat, probably not in that order, got married, we had been dating for like 6-ish months, maybe at that point.
We had just started dating, and I met Matt, and I was like, and he had the rule that like it had to be a girlfriend, and I was like, I'll be at your wedding. I'll see you at your wedding.
Yeah, that's how we knew.
You weaseled right in there.
I made it just in time for everyone's weddings, except yours.
Well, we got married in like the year 2000 BC. So.
Yeah, Steve actually wasn't at our wedding.
Steve didn't make it there either.
We'll get to more. Then we'll get
the vow renewal.
Nobody's harboring any hard feelings about it. That's for sure.
Always holding on to things.
Eva's upset she wasn't there somehow.
But that's not why we're here today.
No.
Yo, parenting podcast. So we, through all that best friendliness, and since you became suburban neighbors, got to ride it out with you when you got pregnant with Grayson, and we were there all the time, and right up to like the day before and the day after. I think we were in your house while you were in the hospital with Grayson.
You were?
Because you wanted kids' newspapers were where they used to print out on this like weird paper that's basically trash.
Yeah.
So,
which is funny because I I did. I texted Steve. I'm like, hey, he's like, you need anything? I'm like, yeah. Can you grab a newspaper for today? It's the day Grayson was born. I went to hold on, which I still have. Didn't do that with Nora.
Poor second child.
Poor
Yeah,
second
right.
child.
To be fair, you guys just moved into a house, and
Yeah, it was kind of chaos. So for us, yeah, Grayson currently right now, Grayson is 2. Well, it's
He'll be 3 in July.
yeah. So it's April 23rd, 24th,
4th.
24th. He'll be 3 years old July 8th, and then Nora will be turning a year old May 30th. So next month, which is crazy.
2020
Yeah.
timestamp.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that in this, we kind of are going to do our weekly updates. So tomorrow, Sunday, the 26th, I guess, of April, we'll do another Where's Eva At? How Big is the Baby? But we also want to talk to our closest friends and people who are parents about what we can expect. And we started bulleting out topics. So I'm sure we'll have you on many times as repeat guests. But for the first one, we want to talk about one of the things you specialize in, and it's sleep training. So to the future kid, this better have worked on you.
Yeah.
we know who to blame.
Or else when we get to the discipline episode, you're going to be learning.
This podcast is the easiest way to figure out that no parent has any idea what they're doing.
No.
And all your friends are full of shit. And all those kids are putting on like happy faces for appearances. None of it works.
That's what I'm looking forward to, is like testing out all the theories on stuff.
By now, our kid will know that I believe in learning and training, and it's like, listen, we're gonna do our prep work because most people don't know what's going on. We're gonna try to take all the cues.
You have to start with why, Steve. So you have to sit the baby down and say,
"No, son, you were named after this famous author."
Yeah, this is going to be like the visual and audio handbook for you. It's like everyone else just like fumbles through it, which you will too. That's the big secret.
Yeah.
Like
no one knows what they're doing, and you don't learn that until
you don't learn it
start
ever.
doing
I don't
it.
think. Yeah, you do it, and it's like, okay, that worked or that didn't work, and then all of a sudden, like the kid's going to be 3, and you're like, well, I guess majority of it seems to be working, but then they get older and they throw curveballs and whatever. But that's the big secret, is that like people are going to act like they have an idea. No.
I feel like, and I don't know if this will be like insulting or not, but I feel like being around you guys, because like before Grayson was born, like, I mean, Bobby, I know you have like younger siblings and stuff, but like I had never really seen you guys like interact with kids like that.
No, not like we didn't. There was no real children in our life. Like
Younger siblings,
my younger siblings, but they're like 10 years younger. They were like by then in their like preteens, not like babies. So we really had, and none of our friends had kids. We're one of the first of our group. So
so I think we like watched you guys figure it out.
We could see that you guys didn't know shit, and we were like, okay, all right, we're good.
And you guys are like instrumental in that. Like, you helped raise the kids as well. You know, there were so many times where like, whatever, you guys babysat for us, or like we'd be hanging out and,
Grayson would be like, give me Grayson.
Yeah, or exactly. So like that stupid cliche that it takes a village, like it does. And your village may be big or small, but like, that's also part of it, is that like you pick up, like what you're doing now is perfect because you pick up stuff from everybody else. I mean, I've seen like friends of mine that have kids now, like Pat and Jen, right? Like they do something, we're at a party or whatever, we see them like, oh, that's a good way to, do that, whatever it may be. And that just, becomes part of your kind of handbook, toolbox.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that like illusion of like, oh, I thought, like, you think your parents have it all together. So hopefully this isn't a huge bubble burst that like showing like, we don't from the start. We're going to try to figure it out. It's funny. I hope the first time our kid watches this and I can just like want to see how we messed you up. It's not like if we will, but like what is the formula that we've kind of put in there, and the traits that are good and the bad. But I think it's cool to try to learn that. And we had the opposite. Like we on our side of the key people in our life, the Matt, Pat, Mike, Jess, you guys, like we've been around a lot of kids. Like even your 29th or 30th birthday, there was like almost more kids there than adults.
Yeah.
And even still, there's so much like we're gonna find out soon in August what we really do and don't know.
I think, and I'm sure you'll have her on at some point, but I think Jess is a good example. Jess is, every time I've seen her with the girls, she's just a good mom. She just has what looks like she has it figured out. And I'm sure that if you asked her that or said that I said that or whatever, she'd be like, hell no. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to put words in her mouth, but I'm sure she, in her head, and even if even if you are the best parent, I'm sure like everyone has, you're always gonna have that down. You're always gonna have that in the back of your head that like, wow, I did that wrong. I'm doing this wrong. Or I'm not doing enough, or whatever it is. It's just, I think that's probably parenting. Like that's probably it in a nutshell. But yeah, I can look at Jess and go, wow, she's a way better parent than I am. You know what I mean? Like, how does she do that? Or how does she, and I'm sure like, she's never maybe looked at me and thought, oh, he's a terrible dad. You know, like who knows? Maybe she has, but
At one time she did say that.
yeah, but that's an interesting thing too. It's like that parent guilt, or not guilt, but it's like
like you're being graded every day of your life on like how you're doing by other people, by yourself, by
yeah, it's a lot of pressure. It's an important job.
Mm-hmm.
But sleep,
yeah.
Sleep.
So things that I think you guys nail it at is, I feel like a lot of people I know with kids at one point or another, who I'm close with at least, complain to me about, or just say like, oh, so-and-so woke up. And you guys do like, but it's like, oh, Nora slept 12 out of 13 hours. It's like, it's not like she was up every whatever. So, we thought you guys would be perfect to talk to about.
Yeah, it's a super obvious, like, it's kind of obvious, but it's kind of not that like, okay, I'm 32. My entire life has been like, I sleep through the night. If I have to pee, maybe I'll get up, but otherwise, and then it's gonna be like completely not up to me. Someone else is gonna wake me up, need my attention, my support or whatever. So I think as we switch into this part, like we've kind of breaking down these big topics of sleep and discipline and a few other like major things to bring on our experts. So we do want to kick it to you guys and see, because I know we've talked offline, but now you can go on the record of like, what is your thoughts around like getting a good sleep schedule?
We're armchair experts at this point. Right?
Hey,
Dining chair experts.
Yeah.
I'll let you start because
so I had done some research before I had Grayson, kind of like best practices and that sort of thing. But like when you're in it, it's so different than reading about it. And so I think, you bring the baby home. That first night you're going to be terrified. You literally, Beel kept his chest. Because when we got out of the hospital, I had a C-section, so I couldn't really lift the baby like out of the little bassinet. So Grayson slept on Beel's side of the bed, and the whole night Beel had his hand on Grayson's chest. And then I was just like, I think I would be like, is he alive?
Yeah.
Is he alive?
The first couple nights are tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're fine. They're sleeping, and then they're not. And then at first it was like we both got up and we both like went in, changed him, fed him. Like both of us were there. And then after like 4 nights of that, you're like, one of you's like, all right, I'm good. I mean, Eva, you'll be breastfeeding, so you'll be that. But Steve maybe can help out, change a diaper or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had done some research, and those first weeks are definitely all over the place. There's no schedule you can really put on a baby at that point. Like there's just it's not even worth it at that point to try to try to get the baby to sleep through the night. It's just not going to happen the way their food works, and they need to be eating every 3 hours. But around 12 weeks, I did follow some guidelines with the baby when he was that little and with Grayson. They say like at night when the baby wakes up, you should kind of try to keep it still like dim lit and make sure it's still dark in the room. So like don't go turning on all the lights, and don't try not to get the baby like super stimulated. And then this is a funny part me and my mom would talk about. I had like a weird thing where I wouldn't make eye contact with Grayson when I fed him at night. Like in the middle of the night. They said that I read that like if you make eye contact, it like stimulates him and like makes him want to wake up. So
I'll pick it all. You saw me.
I would feed him like
we told you they don't know shit.
Oh, we didn't know that about each other. I was in the next room. I didn't know that.
So, I mean, you don't have to follow that. I made eye contact with Nora, but not like a lot. You're just not supposed to like play with them and stuff like that. You're trying to keep it like so they know it's nighttime. Like this is quiet time. This is when we sleep, because when the baby, as Eva knows already, like when you're resting, a lot of the times the baby's up, kicking, moving around in there. because usually when you're up and active, that lulls the baby to sleep. So by the time you have it, their nights and days are all out of whack. So they think that's why at night it's very important to make sure you keep it dark, keep it quiet, keep it very like chill, and then so that like gets them used to that is nighttime.
Yeah.
So
Grayson had his nights and days mixed up when he came home from the hospital, probably for the first week or so. So, you know, he would sleep, and newborns sleep
like
18, 19 hours a day. So, but he would get a bulk of that would be during the day, and then at night he'd be a little bit more just up.
Yeah. So those are like tips when he'll be super little, is just to make sure like night is like quiet, dark, and very little stimulation. And then around the 12-week mark is when they say you can actually start to try to sleep train. So I was really trying not to do like certain things like rock him to sleep, or, you know, have to hold him to sleep or sleep with him in bed. I wanted to make sure that he knew that like his crib was his crib and our room was our room, and kind of like set those boundaries. Obviously in the first like weeks you'll have the bassinet in your room. But we didn't do a lot of co-sleeping with Grayson at all.
Yeah, I think to this day he slept in bed with us once,
like his whole life.
His whole life.
I think that's gonna be so hard for me to like know or like rock him.
Yeah, there's like
maybe by that point I'll be like so ready for him to just like be on his own and
it's interesting what'll happen. Like when I think so even broader than all that, and I think we could probably get into like the technique and something we did. Yeah, but I think broader than all that, Eva, you make a point like there's and Steve, you actually mentioned this earlier too, is that like you have your set routine now. Routine in general is probably the biggest thing for kids. I mean, any routine that you have, whether it's nap times the same time, they eat at the same time, they go to bed at the same time, like that ultimately dictates like how they're going to be as people. And so if you put them to bed regardless at the same time every night, it makes it easier for them to be ready for
like adjust
sleep.
to it.
Yeah. And like I remember when Bobbie Lynn went back to work at 3 months, we had like all of our moms trade off to watch him until he was a year old, and Bobbie Lynn had like literally a itinerary.
I knew what he was gonna say, so I got really nervous. My schedule.
Yeah,
I had a laminated schedule that I created for them.
You were like strict on his sleep.
I was very serious about his naps.
And ultimately, like it was fill in the blanks basically from here. It's, hey, you play with them, feed them, whatever. But it was nap time this time, 2 naps a day this time. And I remember one of the moms wouldn't necessarily follow that. So like I get home from work and it's like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and like he had just fell asleep an hour ago. And it's like, what are you doing? Like oh, he woke up late. I'm like, doesn't matter, put him back down. Like he'll fall back asleep.
Yeah.
Now we're screwed because now he's not gonna fall asleep. And all of a sudden that cycle, it's quicker to unravel obviously than it is to get it set up.
And babies are so different than cute like adults. So in our heads we think like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, I'm gonna sleep so well tonight because I haven't like slept like for a while. But babies are the opposite. The better they sleep like throughout the day, like the better they sleep at night. Like for babies, better sleep generates better sleep.
Yeah.
So the more sleep, the better sleep.
And the better they eat.
Yeah.
That's why like ultimately what happens is they get to 12 like 3 month mark. And anything you read online says around this time, most babies should be sleeping through the night.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why
not that they most should, it's that they can sleep through the night. So at that point, there's no real physical need for them to eat in the middle of the night anymore. Like before, it was like a life-sustaining thing, you know what I mean? But at that point, their bodies are able to digest at a slower rate, I guess, and so then they are able to
also they're eating more during the day. So like you're feeding them, and it's not. And we used to think that it was about, all right, if we can get him to drink like 6 or 8 ounces before he goes to sleep, it's going to fill up his belly. But it's not. It's like how much you can get them to eat during the day, and then that last bottle or whatever it is before they go to sleep. And at that point, it's twofold. One, it's that they've eaten more during the day, so they can sustain longer at night. Then also, at this point, they're developing they have developed REM sleep, REM sleep. So they get into a deeper sleep where the newborns don't have that. Newborns don't ever have that like deep, sleep that we have now. So those two things happen around that time, which worked out for us.
I want to put a disclaimer. We're not scientists, so if any of this is
this is
non-factual,
we have a little Google
disclaimer focus at the bottom, like not
allegedly. This is all.
It's 2020. I'm sure that our kid will read in their science book that this is the time where science went out the window. Don't even worry about it.
Basically. But yeah, so broader than that would just be routine being a big one. And I used to, for us with Grayson, I used to, Bobby Lynn would be home with him all day, maternity leave, and like, you know, I get home from work and she's like, okay, you know, you're
here you go.
But I used to love like putting him to sleep. I would put him to sleep every night. And basically, it was just, you know, and Grayson was easy. So this is the other kind of caveat to it, is that like, and we don't know if what we did worked or if Grayson was just.
It had to work because Nora wasn't easy, and she still slept. Like we still got her to sleep through the night, even though she was like a nightmare.
And almost the opposite of Grayson. Correct. Yeah, that's a good point. So for us, it worked. And this isn't a roadmap for you guys.
But I feel like with Grayson, like I remember, and I don't know how old you guys did this until he was how old, because we would like when I would be over, sometimes I would go upstairs with him and give him his bottle, like holding him.
We did that, and then we put him in the crib.
Yeah, but
so
I didn't rock
there wasn't
lullabies.
that was always a thing. We always fed him and then put him in his crib. And then with him, we didn't give him the pacifier when he slept because he would just spit it out, and it became like a problem where we had to keep going in all throughout the night to like give it back to him. So I was like, nah, we're not doing this. So I just took it away. But Nora, she sleeps with her pacifier every night. Like we keep it in there so she can put it in herself when she wakes up because I don't need to deal with that.
Yeah. So that's
so
a lot of
those things change. Like there's no, definitive things about what your baby's preferences are.
The hard part for sleep is on the parents. It really is.
Yeah.
Like it's
like that first night we decided, it was like a week before I went back to work with Grayson, and I was like, I told Beel to go sleep in the spare room, I think, and I was like, I'm gonna let him cry it out tonight, and so like you just need to prepare yourself that it's gonna be a long night. So I used a technique called the Ferber method, which is the actual name. And basically you put the baby down, like we fed him, put him in his crib, and then you leave the room. And then inevitably they're going to cry either then or a little bit later when they wake up in the middle of the night when they normally are used to feeding. And you go back in and you don't pick them up and you just rub their back and talk to them. And so I would just be like, it's okay, Grayson, like it's okay, just go to bed. And then you leave. And then you wait 5 minutes. And then if the baby's still crying, you go back in, you do the same thing, and then you leave again. And then you extend the time every time you leave. And so they say after usually about half hour, 45 minutes usually is when the baby will most likely stop crying. Like it usually works after a certain amount of time. So, and then after a few nights, you don't have to keep going back in. Usually the baby just starts to put themselves back to sleep. And that's the big thing. That's why like the rocking thing, like if you have to rock every time just to get them to fall asleep, then you have to do that every time in order to put them down. And they wake up so often in the middle of the night. So yeah, that was what we
also like,
we did.
I guess it's not, maybe controversial is not the right word, but like it's not for everybody.
It's debatable,
this is just what
yeah.
worked for us.
Yeah.
I mean, we tried this and it worked. And Bobby Lynn
I was very adamant about it.
Yeah.
I wanted.
But I know some parents like.
Some people
maybe
don't
they didn't
like.
Try it. Some people don't like to.
They don't want to.
Which is obviously.
Each their own.
Yeah, I'm not saying you guys have to do this.
But you have to.
But
it is hard, like listening to baby cry and not like going in there and just it like goes against your instincts completely, because your instinct that your baby's crying, oh my gosh, I have to go, like wrong. I have to go fix this. But in that circumstance, like you're just like not hurting them. I mean, they'll be fine. They'll still develop the same. It's just like your sleep is going to be messed up at that point for so long. So we definitely did that. We tried it. So it's funny, like 12 weeks is, I think, usually the time, because I think with Nora, I was just so exhausted and tired, and I tried it like a week earlier than 12 weeks or like a little bit earlier, and we tried it one night and she cried all night, like not like an hour, not 45 minutes. She cried all night. Yeah. And then Beel finally, after she would fall asleep for like 25 minutes and then she would be screaming again. And Beel finally was like, you need to go get her. Like, I can't hear this anymore. And so, and then like, I think like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I tried it again and it worked fine. So it was just like, sometimes they're just not ready. But, and it's consistency. So like that first night is going to be the longest probably that you'll have to keep going back in. And then after that, the subsequent nights it's much shorter because they kind of like get used to it. And
naps too.
Yeah, naps
too, because you used to do it with Grace and Wayne naps as well, and it was once again consistency. So, it's self-soothing. So the baby has to figure out whether it's a pacifier or
their thumb
or whatever it is.
like,
they need to figure out a way to calm themselves down, instead of having you go in and pick them up or whatever, or bottle or whatever it may be. So like then that method kind of teaches them like, okay, either they're not coming back, and we just whatever.
Yeah.
Or, find your thumb or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So
this morning was funny because Nora, I think she actually like woke up around 7:15ish, and she was kind of like, I saw her on the camera, but she wasn't crying. She was just sitting in her crib hanging out. And then I guess like she got bored that we weren't coming and she just went back to bed. So then she wound up sleeping till like 9:45 this morning.
Nice.
Crazy.
which is
not that's not like,
norm.
I'm not trying to put that on the record as normal. We were like, at one point I'm like, this is not like, should we go get her? Like, this is weird.
Yeah. And
usually, like, even Grayson, like, he won't sleep late usually unless he doesn't feel good. And that's when you'll get him to sleep till like 9-ish.
Yeah,
but other than
usually
that, they're like 7.
7.
Yeah.
And that's now during quarantine.
I do wish our kids slept. That's, if I could change anything, like, I wish I could train them to sleep later. Like, and I don't know how to do that. I should Google that.
The problem is they also go to bed at like 7:30.
Yeah.
So they're getting like
before
12
it gets
hours
bed
of
early,
sleep,
yeah.
We'll do like an 8 p.m. bedtime.
I was gonna say, you guys try to have it on both ends because you put them in bed at like 7
Yeah, and you want
for their evenings. You get your evenings. You're like, damn, I want my mornings too.
And
I was like,
they are sound sleepers. Nor so even teethings, and they're like,
yeah, there'll be regression, and there'll be teething, and there'll be instances where the baby's gonna wake up in the middle of the night, but we rarely, like, unless it's like a scream that sounds like something's happening, we usually just let her cry it out, and usually it'll, like, even at 10 months, at 11 months, we still, like, the other night she cried in the middle of the night, and we just, like, if it's less than 10 minutes, I won't even go in there.
Yeah, that's the other thing too.
Less than 10.
Amazingly, like you'll know somehow. Like Nora, she was teething. She got her 2 bottom teeth at like 6 months or whatever. She's getting 4 up top right now. So before they busted through, she would wake up.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember specifically, it was probably 6 months or 7 months or so. She was crying, and I heard her crying. It kind of woke me up. It was probably like 2 o'clock in the morning. And then she like was screaming, crying. And I remember I went in, I got her, and she was like she was burning up. She was like on fire.
Yeah,
and as soon as I heard that cry, it was different than a normal cry. It's like almost, because they communicate that way.
Mm-hmm.
I ran in there, I was like, something's wrong. And I went in, and sure enough, she had she had a fever, and she was just, we brought her into bed with us just to keep an eye on her. But yeah, you'll be able to tell too. Like most times it's just a whiny, and sometimes they're just like Nora. She does it all the time where it'll be quick. It'll be a couple minutes, maybe at the most.
Yeah.
Where she'll cry if she's asleep. Maybe a nightmare or whatever it is.
And babies are restless. They're gonna like, he's gonna move a lot. Like, and sometimes they just like wake themselves up by like rearranging. And you'll see like on our camera, like, take still shots when Grayson or Nora move in the middle of the night. And you'll see Grayson like sitting up in his bed at like 3 a.m.
It's terrifying.
And it's so scary.
It's so creepy.
But then, like, but then, he just goes back to bed.
This morning he was up at like 6, and he had to like rearrange his Woody doll.
And move Slinky dog out of the way, and then he like hopped back in bed and got under the covers. Like, they move a lot.
That's so funny. You just send me those next time.
So I guess that's for us.
That was like
sleep in a thing. It's so important to talk about like what sleep does to you though, because it does. And with the second one too, like with Nora, even more so. And then you play this battle where you're like, all right, Grayson wakes up, he wakes Nora up, or Nora wakes up, then so nap time becomes like this
battle royale.
They got to go at the same time and hopefully just sleep long enough to like. But it does. I remember like even with Bobbie Lynn being on maternity leave, so the way we used to work it was that she would.
Which one?
Both of them, really. But you would, like, during the week, well, yeah, I guess it changed a little bit with Nora. But Grayson, let's say, like, during the week, middle of the night, she would get up with them, feed them, put them back to bed, and then on the weekends, I would take over. By then, would then be
And I
able
would
to
get to sleep at night.
And usually, like I would take, and we try to do this, and like they say, sleep when the baby sleeps, but like you really can't. Like
Eva will be able to because she's a good napper.
Yeah.
But like I like suck at
Whatever.
napping.
Yeah.
So that's what they say. And I would just, if Grayson would be asleep and I'd be like, I wonder what kind of curtains we should get for the house. Like my brain just cannot.
And it's like you
That'll be me in the middle of the night though when the kid wakes up and I won't be able to fall back asleep.
You're better at naps than you are like.
I can't yet. That's what I'm actually mostly nervous about. Well, not that.
You have to try to be good for yourself and like not go on your phone. I know it's gonna be super hard, but I always felt like the minute I went on my phone, it was so much harder for me to like get back into sleep. Like I was just up then looking at my phone.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
There's also weird stuff where like you'll almost instinctually wake up because you have a feeling or you think that the baby's about to wake up. So like you're up like 10, 15 minutes before the baby gets up, and that sucks. And then you put the baby back down, and then it takes you 10 to 15 minutes. So like let's say that the baby's up every 2 hours, like you're really then getting up almost every hour. You know what I mean? And hopefully that only lasts for a week or two initially, but like it sucks. No, I mean like we figured with Grayson, like after a month, it was you could buy your watch. It'd be he went to bed 2:30, whatever. Like hopefully you get to that, but when they're newborns, it's chaos.
It's chaos. Yeah,
I'm sure the day we found out I was pregnant, I haven't slept since because and like now, of course, I have like more trouble sleeping because I'm not as comfortable or I have to go to the bathroom or whatever. But like in the beginning, like it's not really like I don't even think hormones really do anything. But I think just like I'm like an restless person in my brain, and so like I was like thinking about it all the time. So like that's just being pregnant. I can't imagine like having like a life to keep alive. I'll probably be so like nervous.
It's true. Like those first like few nights and probably that first week, it's all like in your brain, like, oh my gosh, something's gonna happen, and then you just get so exhausted you can't keep you awake. Like literally, you're just like so exhausted. Like you'll hit moments where it is so completely exhausting that you just.
We used to check the camera constantly. Is he breathing?
Is he breathing? Like
eventually,
zoom in.
Like, am I ever gonna not check the camera every? What feels like every 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden, like. You're just sleeping, and then the first and second time or so,
where
the
they
baby
sleep
sleeps through the night, you're up. Like it's not even worth it because you're up. You're like, oh my god,
like
something. They're dead.
That's what you are. You're so worried that something terrible has happened because they're so quiet all night, and you're just like sleeping finally for the first night. So
I feel like I've even seen the evolution of you guys doing that. Like in the beginning with Grayson, like you'd always have your phones on the baby camera, like constantly, and then it became like. I think with Nora, I feel like I barely even saw it. You'd be like,
second one's a different story, but like, it is like that.
You're not less nervous because you're kind of like, okay, she's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the good news is like, it seems like Steve needs a total of 4 hours of sleep a night to function properly, which is nice.
And Eva's good at naps. You guys are gonna nail it.
It's gonna be.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll do what we can do.
It's amazing, but like first couple nights, like. After you get over the initial shock of them sleeping through the night and that first night you fall asleep and you get a full night's sleep, it's a game changer for me.
Yeah. It'll be interesting because, being that we're in, during the coronavirus pandemic, by August, there's probably, we're not going to have like a vaccine or anything. So there's still going to be the risk out there. And so there's like a good chance Steve will be working from home during that time. And so it's going to be.
There's a silver lining,
I'll be curious kind of, he'll be much like more into the role that you're in now. So I wonder like if that will impact like.
It almost works to our advantage because I'm not going to have to like drive a hour commute or whatever. Like being able to have until like 9 a.m. to get started.
Yeah.
We can take a little more time in the morning. We'll have like.
For sure.
That'll be super nice.
Or like even if you're like, hey, I'm in between meetings, you're not stuck at your office, you're home, so you can
nap.
Even wants to shower, like all these things.
Yeah.
It's like,
it will be, and it will be nice because I think what I've noticed with like a lot of my girlfriends who are home, tends to be the women who stay home longest. It's just like how isolating it feels, and especially like in the beginning, it's probably like scary and
It's just
I
lonely.
think with
All you have
Grayson,
is baby just crying at you most
Yeah.
of the time.
I feel like with Grayson, he was such a good baby in terms of like he just like slept and chilled. Like he was like just easy. I feel like it was probably more relaxing in some ways for you than with Nora, who was like for the first 2.5 months.
Oddly enough, though, I feel like I felt, and I don't know if that's because I had postpartum with Grayson and I didn't with Nora, but like I felt more alone with Grayson than I did. But maybe it's because he was easier and didn't need my attention all the time. Like I would put him in the boppy or like hold him.
Yeah, maybe. So that like transition
But
was
Nora like needed so much attention. Like I didn't have a minute to like just relax. Like so because I was trying to make her stop crying all the time.
sure.
Damn. Sleep experts.
Yeah.
By no means.
By no means, yeah.
Well, we'll test it out. We'll let you know.
Yeah, I'm curious though too. Something else is that I'm curious to see if you have anybody else on that has breastfed, because they're, and I don't know. It's hard to say unless I guess you do both with one kid. Where they say that like formula is just heavier, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and so it just fills them up more or whatever it may be. And then also, I guess when you breastfeed, like you don't know exactly how much the baby's getting. So like, I know I gave the baby 6 ounces, but you can't quantify that when you breastfeed.
So if you pump, then you can see.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess like I guess
You like nighttime bottles.
As the resident intuitive eating expert, kids have the ability to self-regulate themselves, and so it's just about like understanding and like learning how to read your kid, and like and that's like a really important skill, because that's when they learn that like they can trust their own satiety and hunger and stuff like that. I think the hard part will be like learning what cries mean hunger and what cries mean whatever. You guys are obviously our first guest. I know Matt or Elise breastfed both kids, and as far as I know, their kids are great sleepers and they sleep late. So
they do sleep late.
So that tests that that kind of tells us that like breast milk may not be all that bad for sleep after all.
Yeah.
Busted.
So we'll see kind of when we talk to them.
Yeah, I mean,
that'll be their topic, breastfeeding.
I'm interested, if they did any. I know they did some sort of sleep training with Jack. I'm not sure about Maeve, but like if they did cry out or anything like that too. You know what I mean? Like I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see what the kind of
yeah. What works for everybody.
Yeah.
Did we have any other
we gotta find
questions?
out. So we got some stock kind of parenting questions. I don't know if any of these are. Feel free to pass on any of these, and also we'll give you time to ask us surprise questions if you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go down our list. What's one of the best lessons that you had learned from your parents or from anybody that you translated to parenting?
Don't look at me.
I could have prepared you guys on that.
Should we prepare them by sending them the questions ahead of time?
You did send the questions.
Even didn't read the email.
Yeah, I think that's where my original thought came from, like in the roundabout lesson that they learned, and I didn't find it out till later on, is the fact that they didn't know what they made it, and that sounds wrong, but they did. They made it up as it went along, because there's no handbook, right? So I learned prior to Grayson that like, okay, they don't know everything. They're just good at knowing what to do in the moment, or they're good at coming across like they know everything. My dad's like incredibly smart, but like you can't go to school for being a parent, and so like I'm thankful that I was able to like recognize, oh, okay. And maybe it's because you get older, you get wise or whatever, you realize that, oh, they made a mistake there, or oh, wow, they made that up, or oh, well, they told me that my whole life and it's not true, whatever it is. But like that was good to know. It just felt good for me to know that like, okay, I turned out okay. They did a good job. Maybe I'll be able to kind of do the same as a parent, and not fail miserably.
Yeah.
For the record, future son, everything I told you was true.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing. Like, I think that I would like to, what I've learned and what I would like to pass on to my children is kind of like honesty and like trying to be as real with them as possible. And, just like letting them know what's kind of going on and not like sugarcoating stuff for them, as, not to the point where they're scarred for life, where it's like, too above them, but you know, we've had the conversation about like, how do you talk to your kids about drinking when the time comes, or like if you've smoked weed or done any drugs and stuff. And I think Beel and I have kind of taken the stance where we're going to be honest with our kids and be like, we in college we drank, and you know, and like just try to put them. And this is when they're way older, but you know, try to pitch it in a way that they should be smart, and you know, teach them good lessons and morals throughout their life, so that when it comes time to make those tough decisions, like getting in a car with someone who's been drinking and stuff like that, that they do the right thing. So I think like just being honest with your kid and not trying to shelter them from that stuff and being upfront about it. I think that's kind of the approach that I would like to take. And kind of, I think my family was kind of like that. Like they're very.
Everything you told me, like you told me at plenty of times where like you could have you did go to your mom with really anything. Like I don't know if I did with, you know, my parents. It wasn't until later where like and I wasn't maybe not like even of drinking age or whatnot, but I felt like I could talk to my dad, which is great. And it was important too, you know, being, hey, look, this is what's going on. When we were actually trying to get, we were going through fertility and stuff with Grayson, you know, I remember having that conversation with my dad. He's the only one who knew, and it was nice to have, you know, be comfortable about that with him. And I hope, you know, that one day, like Grayson, instead of it being too late, you know what I mean, or after the fact, like, dude, just come to me, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather be like, and I know like it is kind of the cliche parent thing, but you know, if you're at a party and you're drinking, you're underage, whatever, like call me to come get you instead of like hopping in a car with somebody else who's been drinking.
Yeah, like you're not going to get in trouble because you were drinking, like,
yeah,
you know, and it's a hard road to navigate like that stuff when we get there, and you know, but you just want your kids to be smart and like not put themselves in danger.
Yeah, he's going to make stupid decisions. Yeah. They both are, you know, but like don't make the wrong decisions. Yeah. Yeah, that's the tough part, but and the terrifying part. But.
Yeah.
It made me think when you were saying that, like how many times when I was like younger, because I had much stricter parents and like a much stricter upbringing, how the fear of getting in trouble was like higher than anything. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, I did a lot of stupid stuff and put myself in a lot of bad situations, like with drinking and driving, because I would have been so scared, you know, to get in trouble. And like, I agree with that. You know, we'll obviously figure out where we are with that, but I think like it seems like a common thing for us is always like helping our kids feel like they know that we can trust them and that they can trust themselves, and kind of instilling like that confidence that they can make the right decision, and which I'm sure will be terrifying, but you know, we'll get there.
It's a later episode on how
we'll do this in like 10 years.
There's a lot of there's a lot.
It starts entering teenagers.
That's an interesting conversation.
So what's been the most challenging or surprising part of being a parent?
Today.
Yeah.
Every day since
during a pandemic.
Parenting during a pandemic has definitely been one of the most challenging experiences.
Oh, for sure.
I think we've faced. You know, obviously when Nora was born, there was a transition that happened. You know, you have one and it feels like a lot, and then you have two and it's still a lot, and then a little more. And so it was a transition for that. And then
we just moved into a new
house.
Like,
there's a lot of change.
The very next day Nora was born. She was our second. We had to get Grayson used to life like that in this new house. And she was like colicky, so she just cried for 3 months, and like Grayson was just easy. So us having to figure out like how to parent in a sense, you know what I mean? Because Grayson cried like 4 times the first year of his life.
Yeah, seriously, never.
Yeah,
never cried. I totally forgot.
And now, obviously, you know, with the pandemic and COVID and being in the house has been very difficult because, you know, Grayson needs that stimulation from other children, and he needs to be outside, and well, he wants these things, you know what I mean? And they're very important for him, and they help, I think, cure some of his restlessness. And so being stuck inside all the time and not interacting with other children, I think it's been really difficult for him, and therefore, and us trying to navigate that, and also trying to work 2 full-time jobs. And it's just been, I think that's definitely been one of the most challenging experiences. But I think everyone's in the same boat at this point. So, you know, everyone's feeling the heat and trying to make it work. And I think a lot of businesses have been really great about trying to handle that. And why are you laughing?
No, we're just flirting.
I was doing this weird thing with my fingers.
Speaking of self-soothing, Eva was just sitting there like,
I was just pressing my fingers.
that's so sweet.
What else is surprising?
Surprising?
I'm gonna take it. How much love you have in your body? It's like crazy. I don't think I'm the most overly. I'm
You're
such
not.
a weird human. I'm not overly emotional in the sense of me like showing affection and love and stuff like that. My family like didn't really hug a lot when I was younger.
Yeah, I'm humble brag.
I remember like saying like I love you to like an aunt or uncle for like almost my whole life.
Never hugged me.
They never hugged me. They're like, get out.
Tommy had no hugs or no eye contact. This is getting so real.
Jeez. That therapy session.
But then like you have a child and it's insane, and the way it consumes you sometimes is overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when Grayson was a baby, I used to get the actual urge to eat him. Like I wanted to consume him into my body because you like love them so much and you like don't want anything to happen to them ever, and it's so amazing. And
I heard that's pretty standard.
you can like have that I want to cannibalize my child.
What was that from? The inhale you.
I don't know, but this is a good time. This is the perfect time.
Show we were watching.
I think that
It was
Who was that?
it was Dave. Hi, I'm Dave.
Is that
Was it?
Was it? That's what I thought too, but I don't think.
No. It was in Middle Ditch and Schwartz, which is one of the all-time greats. I'm sure our kid has watched many times. Because you ever just want to like inhale her breath? Get up and inhale her breath.
That's right.
Sorry, that was important.
Sorry, we derailed.
It might be a surprise to our kid that mom gets a little off the path sometimes.
Yeah, that was good.
The love, yeah.
That's legit.
It's a thing.
It's a physical. It's insane, and there's no words for it. I don't have the vocabulary for sure, but there's no words that like you can even come close. And I remember you hear a lot about what's the saying is that a woman becomes a mother,
at conception. A father becomes a father at birth.
Yeah, a guy becomes a father at birth. And so like the first time I saw Grayson, it was very much that. It was almost like a physical feeling where like I just, it was in my toes to my head. Like all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay. And then everything, like, whatever it was. I remember
It's a funny noise.
I was just like, whatever the words are. And I remember you didn't have that right away though.
Mm-hmm.
With him anyway.
Great, tell my son I did love him.
Yeah.
I did love Grayson from birth.
Didn't even say he wasn't cute. Anyway, it's not important.
No,
we both love him now.
Your newborn will not be cute. No newborn is cute.
Shout out to Beel. Point above your right shoulder. Shout out to how cute Grayson is.
Yeah, how's it going?
Yeah.
I think that's been super cool for me and for us. Like I have known you since like 2009 probably, or 5 or whatever, and literally we'd see you piss drunk at like DeSales parties and we'd like hang out and dance. It was like both. But not me, your boy was not. Yeah. But and I remember when you became parents and had all the existential crisis of like, I'm a parent now, and Bobbie didn't feel that instant snap, and watching you guys kind of grow through that to be like the parents you are now is rad. And like in the pandemic is just like tough, and you guys rock it out with your like big giant house and your good job, and you're doing logistics and strategy. And
I don't do logistics anymore, obviously.
I could send you a picture and all of a sudden you make it, and it's a cool little loop ring game that you should have brought on the thing.
Yeah.
Next episode. Mm-hmm. So it's cool. I think we're glad to have all of the people we're going to bring on this, especially you guys, to learn from and make mistakes with your kids instead of our kids. And
well, thanks to bringing us on and listening to us talk shit for however long it's been about what we think we know about parenting.
Everyone's going to watch us and be like, they don't know anything.
Yeah, it's never long enough.
I've seen your kid. He's a feral monster.
Future kid, that's you.
Yeah.
So one last question for you, then you can ask us questions. So if we're doing this, trying to learn from all our friends' mistakes, what's a mistake that you've made we should avoid?
Ooh.
having two. No, I'm just kidding. Nora's
We have to have two now because I need to go through the pregnancy experience, not a pandemic.
It's true.
No, that
Well,
food
we need
tour.
that too because
They need to keep each other company. I mean, they try to like murder each other, but it's really cute when they're.
We're gonna have two because you have two. You're not better than us.
well, 4.
5.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's a good question. How would you answer that?
I got a list of mistakes you've made. If you need like
I've got the receipts right here.
I don't know if there's one big one. There's been,
and it's not like a existential. Like you could be like, I bought this brand of this thing, and it was the wrong. Like it doesn't have to be like a major.
There are some. It's funny. I think after having Nora, there's some stuff I'm like, why did I do that with Grayson? And like, for instance, this is so stupid, but some like we buy like the baby food pouches to feed Nora, and we bought them to feed Grayson. And some of them are really liquidy, like they're like kind of like water. And when you're feeding an infant or whatever, like her hands are like this the whole time, and she's hitting it on your hand and it's splattering all over the place, and it's so annoying. And I learned this time around, I'm like, why don't I add rice cereal to this? And so I just add rice cereal to the little pouches, and so it thickens it up. It's more filling for her, and at the same time, she like doesn't whack it out of my hand. It's so much less annoying to feed her. And it was like one of those things where I was like, I wish I would have known this, like when I had Grayson, because like stuff like that, like
stuff like that. Yeah. So like for instance, like, and it's hard to do when you're first and you're a new parent. But like, I almost wish we didn't panic. Grayson was just all those milestones you read online. Like,
yeah,
I wish maybe we
thing.
Didn't focus too much about like.
Is he walking? Like, is he crawling?
And like we stressed out about it. We really did. We spent so much time like being concerned. You guys remember we were so concerned. I'm like, he's not walking yet. Yeah. Like anybody that was around his age and they were walking, like, oh, what's going on? And we were gonna bring in like early intervention. Like I just wish like he's walking. He's fine. He runs around the house at 100 miles an hour. It doesn't stop. And so like, and we're not doing that too much with Noor, although she's kind of ahead of every milestone that he was, but. I wish maybe we wouldn't have stressed out too much about that. It kind of took away from just letting him do, and not that we like can't force on the wall, but like, we were just so nervous about it.
You don't enjoy it as much because you're just like waiting for
it.
I remember like being in your house and we'd be like, all right, let's set him up. Like we were like,
trying
to get him to do it.
It's probably one of the things that, if I went back, I'd be like, yeah, he'll figure it out, Like,
and then I think a big, huge thing, and this is for me personally, is just like not comparing myself to other moms and other parents. And it's such a hard thing to do, not to do in our climate of social media and, posting pictures and stuff and just basically your life. And people make it's like a highlight reel. So you see all the great stuff that's happening in their house, which makes these people look like such better parents than you, or they're, they know something you don't. And just like getting in your head that you're not good enough for your own child, and you really at the end of the day you are. Like Grayson only knows the love we give him, so like, it's not like he's like, oh wow, those parents love Easton more. Like no,
I mean they probably do, but
and so
they didn't love him that much. They named him fucking Easton.
I wish that just like I did that less, like in general, and I still want to work on that and keep that with me, and just like stop being so hard on myself and you and us, and like thinking like what we're doing is never good enough because I'm always comparing.
Yeah.
Good ones.
Yeah.
Damn, you guys.
Okay. What are you most excited about with having a baby?
Want to go first? I don't know what I want to say.
I don't know. I think all of it. I think it's like seeing how much all of it really affects you, and you've got this like everybody's got this idea of what anything is going to be like, and how closely like will those expectations be to what you think. You know what I mean? Even the little stuff, like we don't know what we're going to name this kid. We don't know what. Well, I mean, I know, but we don't know like what they're going to be like. So it's just interesting. Like all these tips we get over all these like episodes, do they work for us? Because I know they're good tips, but every baby's different. I think I'm excited to figure all that stuff out and like figure out like just try to enjoy those moments too. Because in the pandemic, I'm struggling with that. like remembering to just enjoy all the day-to-days and not just like have a tough day and like try to get through it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm excited to like feel that like love you have for a kid.
No,
I
that's
feel like because I
it's the-
have like such a maternal like being. Like I feel like that's one of my like characteristics of like, and not just like with kids, like, you know, like the job I've chosen to do is about like helping others feel better or like loved or, you know, whatever. Like I just have this like instinct. And so part of me sometimes worries that I have this like expectation of what it'll be like, and I won't feel it, and I'll feel like, which may not happen in the beginning, which, you know, I know can happen. But then I think about like how I literally like, I think I did it this morning, checked if Grayson was sleeping.
You did it like 2 hours ago before this thing.
Just because I was like curious.
You checked little baby Nora was out and Grayson wasn't in bed yet. So like, all right, we got
Because
time.
I have the app on my phone.
We have your
you
kid
have that.
baby monitor app.
Yeah, but like when I see like your kids or Jess's kids, and I just like can just stare at them and just be like so like, you know, obsessed. Like I expect that the feeling I'll have, I'm just curious what that feeling will be like.
It'll be that
times yeah.
Yeah, we talk about that because we really like you'll share a cute video of your kids, or somebody else we know will share, like, and Eva will, I'll catch her like watching it by herself, like on loop. Like, yo, you love these kids, and it's like it gets a lot more than that. Like,
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. For
And
sure.
I'm excited. Go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
I was gonna ask another question.
No, I got you.
One more thing. I'm excited to like see if all the parenting things are like the
Me too,
Robert method.
actually.
But I'm especially excited to see how feeding our kid is going to be, because I have my own theories that I've read about and know about, and I'm excited to like test that out with our kid.
we didn't even think of a food episode. Maybe we need one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that a topic, right? Yeah.
We're gonna invite.
You
It'll just be me. I'll
Yeah.
you do both sides of these cameras.
All right.
What do you think? I don't know. What do you think, Eva? And my follow-up question was, what are you most scared about becoming a new parent?
Having kids.
All of it. I'm very scared to give. I'm like, you know, like, let me think about what I'm excited about. I can tell you what I'm scared about immediately. I'm scared of giving birth. I'm really scared about that.
Like 1,000%, you should be. Like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so funny. Like you are, and then you'll get a point in your pregnancy where you're not scared anymore. Like you're just ready to. You want the baby there. You want to stop being uncomfortable. You just get to a point, and like so, by the time you're like in labor, like you're not thinking about how scared you are. You're just thinking like, let's get this done. It's game time.
Yeah. You know, and I'm scared to give birth during a pandemic. So that'll be, you know, a situation that we're not even sure what it'll be like in a couple months.
And you're doing a water birth, which is crazy.
Yeah, right.
Outside.
All the drugs as quickly as I can get them.
Up in your toe.
I'm a very nervous person, and I'm very scared of, like today I was telling Steve, like he was going to pick up pizza, and I was like, I have to fight the instinct not to, like, I didn't want to go with him. And then my brain went, now something bad is going to happen to him. And I had to like not go with him to fight myself so I can like learn that it's okay, that he's going to be okay. Like, can you imagine what that's going to be like with our kids? Sorry, kids. So I'm going to try not to like push that on them or him, because I'm such a nervous person, because my mom's very nervous. And so that's my thing.
Our kid, you'll be fine, kid. Because look, we're talking to you right now. Nothing happened, obviously. Hopefully this checks out, huh?
Yeah.
Aww.
I did see Steve at the pizza shop, and I tried to convince him to come back to our house and leave you at home and eat dinner with us. But
Yeah, then he had to be there for
Yeah, I was in.
so long.
I'm still in. I'm gonna come over right after. I'm upstairs right now. I finished your basement, and we're down there.
We brought this painting.
Yeah, I'm always, you know, that's like the thing with marriage is like I bear all of that stuff, so the kid will be balanced, and that like I think our kid will be fine. You know, like I believe things will work out, and like I'm not super afraid.
Yeah.
My like darker answer is that like you know, kids. It's almost this like symbolic like death of this first part of my life, and now it's like the kid, you know what I mean? It feels like the first step to my transition out, which is like horrifying to me. You know, like really, you have a kid and then it's like the focus and priority becomes on them. And so that like accepting aging and like life and that whole like cycle is like the scary part to me.
Yeah.
I had huge, like, before Grayson, like, there was a lot. When we started having the conversation, there was a lot of that. Like, I liked my routine. Like, I love, our routine. Other than we live in the city, we would go out to happy hour, we get drunk, we come home, we do this, we go on trips, we travel.
Podcast really makes us sound
I know. We would
Yeah.
travel like all the time and as much as we could, and that changes. And so, okay, that's going to change. And like, our Sundays are usually pretty chill. We hang out, not do anything, and veg out. But then all of a sudden, you got pregnant, the baby came, and it's like priorities change because you wanted them to change, not because they had to. We wanted to do things differently and whatever. So like it came pretty easily for me anyway, for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are interfaith. Going to bris, what's up? You getting circumcision at the hospital? We can do. Couple minutes.
We haven't had that conversation.
We've fully had that conversation, and there's no scenario where a rabbi is doing.
I don't think it would happen anyway. I'm like, I don't even want to. To me, it's like, even if I wanted to argue for the bris, like, we're not gonna have a bris during this pandemic anyway. You know what I mean? So like,
does that usually happen right away, or is that something that happens later?
It happens after, right? Like
yeah, but it's like a couple days after.
Yeah,
oh, okay,
not like
so
long.
Yeah.
When they're like 13.
Well, I had a homeowner who their son is probably like a couple weeks younger than Nora, so 11 months, let's say, and it was like 2 months ago they had a circumcision. I was like, and they're like, white. they're like, probably Catholic. Like, it was a circumcision. So I'm like, oh, that's crazy. Why would you wait that long?
They just had it late.
Late? I don't know what that was based off of.
It was like,
don't seem overly religious.
A long wait list for the rabbi.
I thought that, like the sleep, that like we could do a separate episode or several on that, because like we're interfaith, and like all of our friends, like some are raising their kids in a faith-based kind of way. Some are like not. I don't think we know what route.
Interfaith too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure.
My boss she's Catholic and her husband's Jewish.
Yeah. My cousin and her husband are, but I think she cares more about some of the traditional stuff. Like, they have a girl, and they're, spoiler alert, secret, expecting their second. And so they're not finding out until after, but I think like she would prefer to have like a bris. Whereas like, I'm not as religious or not as concerned about some of the cultural stuff being maintained. I think for me, it's always like the expectations of others. But with this, I kind of am like, I think the pandemic makes it an easier decision for me to like let it go, because I'm like, I'm not going to have all you people around this kid anyway. Like, it's not happening. So
hand sanitizer all over the little wiener scissors.
Yeah. And spoiler for the future kid, your religion is effectively what your parents decided is, because it's just important to be good. All that other shit is made up.
Yeah.
Sure.
Even if you believe it, somebody made it up.
That's very true.
So
it's good stuff.
If you don't do it, Steve's got like 1,900
hatchets
in his freaking house, in your house. Your dad's got an arsenal.
You hold the baby in front of the target.
Okay.
Okay.
That note.
Is that it?
We went way over time.
Well, thanks for bringing us on. This was a lot of fun.
What was the time limit?
This has been a modest, I don't even know.
What time did we
It's
start?
like an hour. It's at least an hour.
I can tell you because my cousins were texting me right before we started.
Anybody who's listened to this much,
it was about an hour.
Yeah. All right.
5 minutes talks a lot.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks, guys.
This was dope.
Good luck with the kid. We'll see you in 2022. All right.
Yeah.
Yo, thanks. I'm just gonna stop recording and we're gonna keep talking for 2 more hours.
We're on house party in 2 minutes.
What do you mean house party?
That's
We're in a video chat.
Oh, we don't have. That's right. Bye.
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 See ya.